It's good, everybody. We live here with another episode of In the Lab, where we take a dive into analytics of fighting game patches, players, news, and topics. I'm A to the right, joined by Omega. What's good?
What's up? Back again. New week, new guest.
Yes, sirree. And this guest is one of the most versatile figures in the fighting game space, shown to have competent skills and vast knowledge across a few fighting games such as Guilty Gear Strive, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Kingdom Fighters 15, and most notably Blue Fantasy vs. Rising. Also taking his knowledge to the mic, scoring commentary gigs at tournaments such as TNS, +2 on Block, and Maximum, and the like. His talent doesn't stop there though, as he is a dedicated content creator and music producer / composer with 605 subscribers and 75.1k total views on YouTube and 2.3k monthly listeners on Spotify by the time of this recording, with projects being out such as Last Light, Character, and his most recent album entitled ZGM Volume 1 releasing in April 2024. And your 4-4 Esports Old Head of the Year and Hit of the Year 2024 winner, hailing out of Atlanta, Zohma. What's the word?
That's an illustrious intro. I very much appreciate it. The word is good. The word is good. I'm very happy to be here. I've been in tune with the podcast for a while now. Love seeing all the episodes, especially the few you chat with Skull and Walter. So I'm happy to be in the chair on the show.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, of course, obviously by the time of this episode, Max Mode is in a few days, so I figured why not, have, I think the best person to talk about it is someone who's, native to where Max Mode will be located, and someone who's very in tune with how the event is ran, considering also you went last year, like I said, you commentated as well as played in a few games, but getting to the interview, of course, with every new guest, the best place to start is the beginning. So what was the catalyst that got you into fighting game in the first place?
Man, fighting games have been part of my life for pretty much as long as I can remember. I remember going to Fuddruckers and Famous Dave's, and they had a Tekken Tag machine and Third Strike cabs, and this was when you had to put quarters in the machine, so I had to save up in my little Coca-Cola piggy bank and go out there and play as much of the arcade mode as possible. But in terms of competing and being actively aware of the competitive scene of fighting games, it had to have been Blazblue Calamity Trigger when I played Arakune, and I was made aware that, hey, there's a whole tournament scene to these games. And then Dragon Ball FighterZ was an extension of that, to where I actually started competing, because I picked up Yamcha and I was like, hey, I want to show people that this character is pretty cool, even though everybody says that he's not good outside of the assist that he has. I was like, okay, I want to, take him on the road, and that was pretty fun. And then kind of just exploded from there. Did a little bit of a stint in Smash as well before I really dove deep into the state that I am now. But I would say that the big three were Tekken Tag, Third Strike, Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Okay, sure. Yeah, it sounds pretty similar to, I guess, a lot of current players right now. Mostly fighters, but of course, I feel like everybody's like first was either just some anime or like Street Fighter and pretty much hit.
Yeah.
But honestly, now we got that out the way, right? Actually, no. Okay, so was there like a point where, like whether it was something that happened in the game, or whether you like watching somebody, they're talking to you about it, like was there a point where you kind of knew you wanted to at least dedicate your time, trying to like improve and trying to just whatever drive you had at the time?
I would say there was a tournament that really sort of made me go, okay, wait a minute, I think I can, sort of get a footing in this field. Was MomoCon either 2019 or 2020, I can't remember which year it was. No, 2021, because I was still wearing a mask. So it was MomoCon 2021, and I entered Dragon Ball FighterZ. It was my first tournament in, I think, 2 years, and I entered for Dragon Ball FighterZ, of course, and I didn't go in with any expectations. I just wanted to do better than I did at Dragon Con 2019, where I went, I think, 0-2. And I was like, okay, I just want to make sure that I win a set. And then I ended up getting 7th. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. This was really fun. Talking to people about the game was pretty fun. And then when I really wanted to do a foray into it, it was Guilty Gear Strive, when I got to talk to more people in the community, talk to more people who were doing commentary, talk to more people who were playing the game. One of them being you, actually, when you beat me 30-1 the first time back at 404. I was like, okay, wait a minute. I want to actually
Oh,
get
so
deeper
you
into
too, huh?
Yeah, I mean, like we all got those moments, and
chill, bro.
I think there's gonna be a moment where I talk about a little bit more of what those moments mean. But yeah, it's stuff like that that really made me go. There weren't even like any wins that made me really say I should do this more. It was more so I entered this, I enjoyed the experience, and I want to surround myself with it more. And it was just finding more of the passion that I had for the game, for the communities, for the music in fighting games as well. Like it was just a whole lot of things that captured my love and my passion that has kept me in it and has kept me engaging and wanting more.
Yeah, very understandable. I never remember the sec count, so I don't know why you even remember that. But whatever.
I remember it because I got tattooed. You remember it because you don't remember it because it's just another Friday.
I mean, yeah, bro. Those are riot numbers. Like, are you the one?
Yeah.
On the Tuesday, come on.
Bro,
Come on, man.
leave me alone. Oh my god. Anyways, okay. Well, I guess talk to us about I guess how that passion for grinding out your games and kind of wanting more of that experience kind of led you to wanting to talk about it, right? And get into the commentary space.
So I never really believed that I was going to be like an ultra competitive player to the point where I would be solely able to engage with this field in the lens of a player. Because I think number one, it's hard to make a living that way, because I mean it's just the nature of the nature of the field. And number two, I felt like to sort of toot my own horn, I felt like I had a unique voice that I could provide to the scape that I felt like wasn't necessarily being represented in some of the games that I was engaging with, most notably like anime fighters. And I was like, well, I like learning about the game, and I also like passing on what I learned to other people. And I also like being able to have a front row seat to see some of the best players, some of the best matches, and being involved in that as a conduit of information through commentary is a privilege unlike any other. I can't really explain it in words. It's just something that you have to experience to really understand. So it all sort of bled into the aforementioned passion of just being like, man, being able to experience this kind of stuff. And it's just stuff that I could talk about for, forever. It's stuff that I'm actually really interested in, that makes me really happy. So that's sort of what made me go, I want to be able to share this with other people through whatever I can. And it was either commentary and videos. Those were like the big two things where I was like, yeah, this is something that I can do to sort of share the positive things about fighting games, because there's a lot of negative stuff that goes out. And I wanted to be one of the people who just said, hey, this game is awesome and here's why. And I want you to go out and tell your friends the same thing.
Yeah, definitely valiant. Yeah, I think we need honestly more of that low key. I didn't into that. So I guess now.
A lot of negativity around.
Yeah. Well, I guess with that being said, right, we can probably take a bit more serious approach here. Okay. So now, obviously, I know, and I know it's kind of like a slightly joke thing, but you're kind of known for your clear-cut attitude and no BS mindset, which, I mean, let's be real, it kind of seems we've been a bit of a recession the past few years, especially more so. But has that kind of contributed to, I guess, your drive to kind of knowing how to pursue and competing?
I think so. A lot of what you described as like my clear-cut, no BS attitude has been prevalent in my avenue of competition, dating back to playing football as young as 7 years old, going through school, going through business, finance, and then doing music, and of course represents itself in what I do in fighting games. And I think that being able to have sort of an objective view of things, or as objective as I can. I still have my moments. Nobody's perfect, of course, but being able to be honest with myself and with others regarding the state of a game, how we interface with the game, how I'm improving, what I can do to get better, what I'm doing well, what I'm not doing well. I think being able to do that in a healthy way and having a healthy approach to these games and this field has allowed me to have a sustained drive and sustained passion and motivation for competing, where I don't think that many other people can have the same. And I honestly think anybody's capable of doing so. It's just a matter of, do they want to do that? Because it's hard. It is hard to sort of have that view of the game, being honest with yourself, looking yourself in the mirror and just saying like, hey, you know, what I'm doing right now isn't good enough. We could be doing better. But, you know, there's a reason why we have outliers that do what they do, and then everybody else kind of just, for lack of a better term, sort of occupies the middle of the bell curve. But I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's whatever you want to do to engage with it. But I feel like me being honest with myself in terms of what I expect from myself, what I should expect from myself, and what I want to get out, or what value I want to get out of the time I put into and the stuff that I do, has really helped me take full advantage of opportunities that I've been given in this sphere.
Valid.
Yeah.
Valid. I just want to double back. So I remember you mentioning that you took the reins on the Yamcha Brigade for a bit. So
Yes.
I just want to know, when you was playing DBFZ, what was your, like, I know you explained your mental, but will you say that your mental DBFZ or previously Blazblue led to your mental in like current games right now? Like the way you compete, the way you think, the way you operate.
So I think that in the most recent years, which has been far past my lifespan in BlazBlue and Dragon Ball, there have been different ways that I've approached the game. But I will say, from those early stages, what was reinforced to me, or what I reinforced to myself, was that I chose the characters that I played. And like, I guess for BlazBlue, that doesn't really count because I played Arakune. I didn't know he was good until like way further, or I knew he was good, but I didn't know how good he was until like way further down the road. But Yamcha especially, he had the strong A assist, but there were some other things that he could do, especially season 3.5, where they nerfed him and got rid of his burst option in EX Wolf Fang Fist, or they at least made it a lot more punishable on Whiff. But I, at that point, told myself, you know, I could play a top tier. I could just go up the tier list and do that, or I could just stick it out with Yamcha. And if I'm gonna do that, I cannot make excuses. I cannot play Yamcha and say I only lost because I played Yamcha. I set out and told myself, okay, this is what I have decided I want to do. I'm going to have fun playing this character, because that, at the end of the day, it's a video game. You want to have fun, and if you're not going to have fun, it's going to be harder to maintain that passion. And you cannot make excuses for your shortcomings. You have to know the hill that you have to traverse to get to where you want to go, accept those terms, and then act on it. So there were a lot of times where, you know, I was playing in the fusion meta, and I would be like, man, he just doesn't really have things that, you know, like a Vegito or a Blue Jita has. And I would say, okay, well, I may have to work a little harder, but that's okay. And I learned to enjoy that. So I think being able to adopt that mindset was really, really good early on. So I didn't just always go, X character's bad, that's the only reason why I lost. Again, still had my moments growing up in fighting games, but I've gotten a lot better about it now. Grand Blue, Vera is considered one of the worst, like a bottom 10 character. I don't believe that to be true, but I basically have that same mentality that I had with Yamcha, where I said, I'm not going to make excuses because she can't do things that the other top tiers can. I think she's good enough to win. I'm going to prove it to people, and I'm going to put it on myself to work, put in the work, trust in the results, and show people the way.
All right, you're like one of the first people I've seen like try to power through positively through the fucking fusion meta, but that is.
I mean, like, it was hard. It was hard. Don't get me wrong. It was hard.
No, look.
Yeah.
I was maining those characters, so I didn't care. I was full
fair
fusion,
enough.
bro.
Fair enough.
So I was like,
I mean,
hey, if you're not having fun, get off.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, you're in an extension of that. I think people are perfectly valid in choosing those top tiers. I'm not saying I have the moral high ground because I was like, I'm toughing it out with the low tier. I'm the better player. I'm the better person. Like, I don't believe in that, and I think that's another sentiment that I have not really enjoyed. Like, when people would bully and do like personal attacks on people for playing top tiers, like, it's cool if you joke and stuff like that, but like keep it light. But like, people would just be like, man, this person is like extremely pejorative term here, and I'd be like, dude, you don't have to take it personal. They're just playing Gold Lewis. I don't know what we're doing. But yeah, if you play top tiers, like, I don't care. I could do it too. I chose not to. It is what it is.
I feel like when it comes to top tiers, it's like, I want you to like just understand that you're playing a top tier. It's when you think you're nice. That's when it's like, okay,
that's
let's
fair.
calm down.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's when you think you're nice. Let's calm down. You're playing a top tier. Let's calm down.
That's fair. Like, I played Beatrix for a little bit in Grand Blue, and there are moments where I was just like, yeah, I'm definitely scamming people right now. I'm not, like, there are moments where I'm just like, I'm not the better player here. I just hit you once and you exploded, so GG's, I guess. But either way, you know, you play who you want to play. If you find them fun, that's all I care about. Just don't make playing a top tier or a low tier your personality. That's all I ask.
Yeah, we definitely need some of that in a certain group of people. But all right, all right, yeah. So circling back to the whole I guess mental warfare thing, right? I guess, okay. So I guess, did you kind of have to develop this mindset? Like, did it mostly come from, I guess, just you having, you know, putting yourself in the ringer in a lot of these games, or did it just come from, like, I know you mentioned you had a background from football, or was it kind of like a mentor or something like that? Like, was it like a mix? Like, I guess, where exactly, you know, was the starting point for you kind of building this thought process?
So I would definitely say it's a mix. I've been no stranger to adversity, and I think a lot of people are the same way. We all go through trials and tribulations in this game of life, but it's just a matter of how early does it click in your head that you have to find value in those things that you do, those trials and tribulations. And I think it was definitely impressed upon me most when I was growing up playing football, because I was able to be around a lot of very talented individuals and very smart coaches who basically instilled in me how important it was to have a great mindset, and that you have to, I guess a good way to say it is, you have to know if you love to win or if you love to compete. Because everybody loves to win, not everyone loves to compete. Because when you win, it's just that moment and that's it. You don't love everything that it takes to get there. You don't love going through it. You just want that moment. And competing, you want that moment, but you also love everything that it takes to get there. You love like you lose, and you look at that fondly and say, okay, I learned such and such from this, so I got better, so I could do better the next time around. And, you know, that is something that a lot of people, I think, sort of miss out. And I think there's a difference between being passion-driven and ego-driven, because I think if you're ego-driven, you like winning. If you're passion-driven, you like competing. And football was a great sort of gateway into that, because I played on a fair amount of bad teams, but I also played on a fair amount of great teams. I played with bad players. I played with great players. I turn on the Super Bowl and I see people that I ran drills 7-on-7s with when I was in high school. And every one of those people had that same idea of, you have to love to compete. You have to love getting kicked in the teeth. You have to love getting hit by 30-1 casual sets, and then turning around and saying, hey, can you teach me a little bit about this matchup, and swallowing your pride so that when you go around next time and you play another character, or a player who plays the same character, you're ready for that. And even if you don't win that set, it could go from 0-3 to 1-3 to 2-3, and then you flip it around as 3-2. So it's just loving the process of getting there, not just only getting there, that I was able to learn through all of my experiences through football, schooling, music, and of course fighting games, that I think has led me to where I am today with my mindset.
Honestly, yeah, I never really thought about the difference between wanting to win, wanting to compete, which is, I guess it makes sense now, because I feel like sometimes I get slack when I tell people I don't really care that much to win. Like, I just like to sweat. Like, that's all I can do. You know, like, when, you know, having that nice adaptation back and forth, having close ass games, you know, playing in first to 10s, it'd be like 10-7, 10-8, 10-9, things like that. That's what I find fun. I find fun in having to think and get close to people, looking up to people and then be like, okay, so they're this top player, they have really strong fundamental skills, all these feats, and I'm able to go toe to toe. You know what I mean? So
right.
Whereas like if I win, yeah, that'd be nice, obviously, right? Because that means the journey and the work paid off. But most of my passion, most of my desire comes from having those long games, having those sleepless nights, countless sleepless nights of reviewing VODs. I just spent yesterday watching a few VODs of me and Crescendo and Skull and B trying to that's what I like, having to think and sweat, but if I win, cool, obviously I'm gonna be hyped. But yeah, I think there's definitely something to tell about someone who just wants to have that high from winning versus someone who actually cares. I think that speaks a lot actually about numbers in terms of different scenes or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Which speaking of scenes, actually, rounding out on mental, I was watching the latest episode of the Trash Talk podcast by Brian F, and they were on the topic of pretty much the competitive drive, because I know Jay Wong said pretty much his drive from fighting games gets switched over to doing content because of COVID, pretty much. But he also then gave flowers to Japanese players because they're always dedicated and all in, whereas it seems like NA will typically they'll shy away from things that don't really give them instant gratification, or I guess in Jay Wong's terms, they have to have an OS for it, right? So I guess how do you feel particularly about the difference in passion between our region? And honestly, I don't think it's really just Japanese players. I think that's really a lot of other regions. I know EMEA, our region is pretty slept on, low-key. I don't know why, but
yes.
I really don't know why after all these years. But yeah, even players like them, right? I mean, hell, we just watched Capcom Cup and a player from Blaz from Chile. That dude was going crazy, and he's been playing since 5, I think. So I guess how do you feel about, I guess, just the difference in the mindset and passion between different regions?
So I want to start my answer by saying this is no way to diminish the skill of North America, because I think that we have extremely talented players in pretty much every game. I think the difference, however, comes from the fact that, like Justin Wong and yourself have mentioned, that there's an idea of a commonwealth in other regions that is not necessarily present in North America. And what I mean by that is you see a lot of, and I think Street Fighter is a very good example. Street Fighter and Granblue are two very good examples of this. You have a lot of players coming together to make each other better, because they see the value of bringing everybody up with them so that they all get to a better place with each other. And as being a part of that, you yourself also get to a new level that you probably cannot get by yourself. And different strokes for different folks. I understand that some people really like the solo grind, and I get it. But I personally think that we've had enough empirical evidence across multiple games to where we see, competitors in Japan who are participating in SFL, who are in the Topanga League, who are part of teams and part of organizations, all working together to get better and understand more about the game, teaching each other, and while teaching others different things about the game, then themselves reinforcing what they have learned. So everybody benefits from that. And I think that we don't quite do that enough here in North America, more specifically in the US, because I think in Mexico, there's still, in the KOF community, there's a little bit more of a Commonwealth attitude, because there are a lot of players who support each other, especially at the top level. North America, we don't necessarily have that. We like to operate more in a silo. And I think that is not necessarily detrimental, but it sort of shortens our potential to, I think, where we could be, where if we kind of just, came together and just said, hey, let's work on understanding this game better together, or let's make each other better so we can grow and reach new heights as a group, give each other better competition so that when we do interface with other regions, we can give them a fight. And honestly, you get sort of an idea of what that can be, what that can look like with the implementation of rollback netcode, because we have players from NA interfacing with players from other regions, and oftentimes it's those people who end up going to international events and doing very well because they understand or they get a taste of what it's like when they are operating with other people rather than just only sitting in front of their monitor at home grinding out TNS and not really doing too much outside of that. So all that basically to say the difference is that the idea of a commonwealth, a common good in terms of improving and fighting game would go a long way for NA because it's been adopted in other regions more so, and you see more results, more consistent results for those players, and simply really only outliers on the state side of things.
Nah, you hit the nail on the head. I think the idea of the commonwealth, like you said, doesn't really exist. It's more like you have these like little cliques of people that might come together every once in a while, but you don't really have that whole, I guess, NA like whole coming together for every game they're in. It's more like, oh, just like the people over for this person at this event, or example Guilty Gear when like what's called North Carolina will come out for their guys, or Texas will come out for their guys, but there's not really nothing of like all of them kind of coming together for one player or two players. But I think the closer we ever got to this, and this was playing up during DBFZ, was NA versus France, which is weird because we only come together when we have to face another country in like a little like exhibition type setting.
Yeah. But like France was doing that 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
We did that because Coach Steve said we got to do an event. So I think if you do it again, you are what you routinely do. So if you're only doing that for an event, and that goes with not just in the idea of the Commonwealth, but just preparation in general, what you do off the clock matters just as much, if not more, than what you do on the clock. So you have to be ready so you don't have to get ready. If we adopt that idea of a Commonwealth 24/7, 365, rather than just saying, hey, we got to go to EVO in a month, let's band together, let's grind it out. Whereas everybody else is just being like, hey, we're in sort of the tournament off season, but we're still running our FT50s between ET and Lacid and Shanghai, so that we can understand what Betty Maru does, so that when we go over, we can just be like, hey, you guys don't know about this, but we've been labbing this with each other for 8 months. So I think that's where the value is. So I think you also really hit the nail on the head, to use your own phrase.
Yeah, man. Yeah, a whole bunch of perspectives that I, haven't really thought about. Of course, this is something I've thought about for, I want to say, my bad. But yeah, I've had this, that mindset for about a year or two. And it was mostly for, it started with locals, right? Mostly, obviously, for Strive, and like really anime. It just seemed like, right, it would always be like single digits and like maybe max like 14 people, right? And of course, when Street Fighter Tekken players showed up, it would be, still not crazy numbers, because it's still like a local, of course, of the area, but it would still be like, 20, 30, right? Like, and they all would just be playing the entire time, whereas like other players from other games, they're just kind of just like, they'll like stand around, they'll socialize at least, but they're not really trying to get better. And even worse, after the local, they would just like, either complain about my character or just leave, and there's no really conversation about in Discord trying to grind. It's just very crazy. Even in matchmaking servers, it's just, you'll ping and they'll like either be ghost, or they're gonna like respond with like an emo or whatever, or like it's like, bro, like it's never like a straight yes.
Still on now.
Yeah, bro.
It's annoying. It is annoying.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just very weird to me, right? And of course, on a bigger scale, obviously EVO Japan happening in a few weeks. It's crazy. If I go through the numbers right now, because the attendees are public, right? You have Strive with only almost 700, standing at 693, and even Tekken, which I kind of assume would be a bit higher, but it's at least almost at 1,000 at 982, right? Of course, Blazblue at 481, and then you have Street Fighter. Anyone want to take a wild guess how much Street Fighter got?
2,500.
Kind of far off.
I'll go 2100.
Also far off. Yeah. So they have 6,652.
Woo!
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So that is the difference.
They got my face. I was not paying attention to that entry number. But that's awesome. That's awesome. Shout out to Street Fighter, man. Shout out to them.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and I don't know. It's just weird to me, you know. So yeah, I think there needs to be a better infrastructure when it comes to, you know, I guess wanting to get players. And I feel like we also explained Zohma. It's kind of happening in the uni community, which is funny enough, right? You know, yeah, sure, people also want to bring up the fact that like it's a legacy game and kind of niche. It's kind of hard to play and find someone your skill level, but you know, you have players like, you know, Defiant, Foxoff, Big Black, Lid, who are always welcome to, you know, help new people get in. I mean, bro, how I got into Under Night, I sat down at a setup because I wanted to, you know, I was mad about Strive, my Strive run. So I sat down and not even like 2 minutes into this going to training mode, a local sits next to me. It was like, oh, you want to play some Under Night? I can show you B&B. I was like, oh, wow. It's like, but for any other game, you're not seeing that. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, you're just not seeing it.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate too. But and also, real quick, flowers to the Uni community, because it's things like that gets you a second game. So that's really sick that they got rewarded for that. But it's stuff like that really shows you the community strength, and that's what I'm trying to do with Blazblue. I tell people all the time, I routinely win the local there, but I always say I would rather go like 2-2 and have 21 people there than for me to just sweep every week and there's only like 5 or 6 people there, if that. So I always try to be like, hey, after the local, let's sit down, let's play some casuals, and if anybody else wants to get into the game, I'm always open to talking about the game. And if I don't know something, I'll refer them to a video or another player who knows something else. So just being open and inviting to other people and players, you know, who may be below your skill level or even at your same skill level, but just doesn't necessarily know the ins and outs of certain things, goes a long way.
Yeah, it definitely does. But on the topic of community, so I would say we're just starting to finally clear what COVID did to the fighting game community. But how bad do you think COVID hurt us in that regard of just community sentiment and just, you know, having that game to play with friends, or just, you know, just running sets?
I think it definitely made it so there was a stark difference between the players who were going to locals prior and then the ones who interfaced with the fighting game community during and after, because I think this is a lot very prevalent in Guilty Gear Strive, as well as a little bit in Street Fighter and Blazblue, is that there is definitely a dichotomy between the players who were, you know, having those experiences of going offline and just knowing what all there is to gain from being in offline situations, rather than people who came up during COVID when things were shut down and they had their improvement arcs and they had their tournament arcs through online tournaments and then playing sets through rollback netcode, which I think is fine. I think it's awesome that we were able to have that in order to keep the passion for fighting games going through what was a pretty tough time for the genre. But I think there's still a little bit of a disconnect between that group of players and what they could get from going offline, building a community with other players, not necessarily just only like talking through, you know, Discord matchmaking, but then just being like, hey, you know, let's hop into VC, let's talk about stuff. Or you go to a local, you sit down at the same setup, you play, you know, 50 games or whatever, and you're just, you know, like, it's a different experience altogether that you just cannot get anywhere else, that you cannot replicate through playing online. So to answer your point, I don't think COVID necessarily killed fighting games, or it didn't necessarily knock things off. I just think it really made it so there was a group of players that came after, and this is especially when Strive was at its advent, because I think it released 2021, right?
Yeah.
2020 or 2021? Yeah, so you had a lot of people who joined Strive at that point, so they don't necessarily have the foresight, or not the foresight, but the insight into what all can be gained from going offline and stuff like that, building a community like the Xrd players or the Accent Core players have, and similar things with other titles. If you were in SF5 and you didn't come up through SF6, there are things that you experience that you value that the players who only came in through SF6 don't necessarily know. So it's just sort of kind of like that.
So let me rephrase this then. When you say that COVID solidified the online warrior mindset, like I can just be good online, just enter tournaments online. I don't have to go offline and do whatever.
Yeah, I think it definitely enabled it, but you still had players like Niemenheimer who still went out to CEO Otaku, and people were just like, oh, he just plays online. Then he just goes out and just wins the event, and people are like, okay, wait a minute. So like you have outliers like that, but I think it's definitely became a lot more prevalent when COVID rolled around, and then we were kind of forced to sort of use online as our only ways to play the game and compete in the game. But yeah, that's basically what I'm getting at.
Okay. All right, you guys want to add to that?
Yeah, because I was kind of in that same boat in a sense, just different, but because my first fighting game that I like played somewhat seriously was DBFZ, but I started late because funny story, I actually thought that it was gonna be another cash grab. At the time I was playing, like Storm 4, pretty much. Like if I was playing like any fighter, it was because my attention was Storm 4, 2K, GTA. I was that guy, But anyways,
you and Bandai distrust.
What you mean?
It's valid, but still.
Oh my. All right, bro. Whatever. Anyways, so yeah, I think I started playing DBFZ like it was July 2019, right? And I started playing a little bit more serious like that December. But I didn't actually start like being like a little bit more serious until pretty much COVID, right? Like that January to March, April area, I was pretty much just like, online, I didn't do that too many brackets. That's kind of why I say I wasn't too serious. Like I played to improve, but I didn't really I just didn't do that many brackets. But yeah, I was watching a bunch of, I watched the World Tour. I watched Evo. I even watched, some final round VODs that someone who got me into the scene was telling me about. So that's kind of when I knew like, oh damn, this is actually like kind of serious, and it looked fun, like it looked like a vibe. It just you can feel it from the screen, but you can just know that you're missing a lot by not being there, right? And for me, that's kind of where I was like, damn, I hope one day, I can at least experience it one time. And so thankfully with Strive and just the way, the world started to turn around, eventually it happened. So I can definitely see how it definitely played a part, even though some rollbacks are questionable, but most of it is enough. I also do find it kind of weird. I know with our last sponsor, Blitz, funny enough, we actually had to convince them that online isn't like this, bum like area to be in. You know what I mean? Like you can actually, yeah, sure, you might find some like scrubs and bummy tier like 20 online brackets, sure, yeah, whatever, right? But you can still find, a network to, grow your skills, obviously you have,
right, absolutely.
If your game has a rank mode, or even like for different fighting game events, like for Strive, there are so many tournaments to go to, and quite a few of them have some very high level competition. Like we have players like SQ, well, not, I guess not Marvelo anymore, but Nubenheimer, but we've had quite a few, offline top players and high level players play in these brackets consistently. So we can't really say online doesn't matter, because these same players you look up to are playing these brackets. So what are we talking about?
Yeah, I think it's just noting that those, like, they have two different, like, it's two different things, two different value adds that they both have. Like, online is a great way to get, you know, tournament experience at like a TNS and stuff like that. Like, just being able to put yourself in those conditions, and then also be able to like have more readily, or being more readily available to play games and sets and stuff like that. But offline has everything that I had mentioned other than that. So I think it's just important that you experience both, not just only online, because again, you still can get a lot of value from going online, but then there's a little bit more to experience once you get out of the house.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, with offline, you can also, you know, obviously have a chance to run into international players, obviously, right? If you talk about Evo Japan, there's going to be obviously Japanese players as well as, you know, American, Korean, things of that nature. So yeah, definitely going offline will give you a chance to fight players that you would never run into online anyways, right? Well, yeah, Mega, you can go ahead and take the next slot.
All right. So when you're going into like a new fighting game, like, is there anything you're looking for specifically, like characters, combos, just overall vibe? Like, what are you looking for?
I'm definitely more of a vibe guy. I go to new fighting games. Like, I think a good example is basically what I'm doing with City of the Wolves, is that I decided early on, I said, you know, I've been playing Rock in KOF 15. He was an ace on that team, but I kind of want to do something different this time around. So I want to see, you know, what else is out there. And I looked at B Jenet, and I was sort of familiar with her in 15. I played her a little bit, but not enough to where I was like tournament ready with her. But I always did think that she was a really cool technical character. So when City of the Wolves rolled around and she was announced for it, because of course she was going to be in that game, I was like, okay, this could be a character that I really want to do. And then Gato and Mai were also announced as base characters, and I was like, okay, wait, they have toolkits and overall vibes that I really, you know, lack of a better term, vibe with. So those are characters that I'm also looking at. So it was definitely more of a, am I going to enjoy playing this character? Am I going to enjoy spending my time with the character, looking at the screen and being like, okay, I believe this character can win, and I have fun playing the character. And those are like the big two things. Everything else kind of comes after that. We develop a strategy, we develop tech, we do all that stuff later. It's just a matter of, do I have fun playing this character, and do I believe in this character? If the answer is yes to both, we're in there.
All right. So speaking of City Wolves, so I'm guessing you already played the early access. If so,
Yes.
How do you feel about it?
I think it's a very fun game. What I really love about it is how strong the defensive mechanics are in this game. They're very, very strong. And to sort of go along with that, being able to be consistent with them requires a lot of repetition, a lot of work. So being able to do just defend, guard, cancel, and then completely flipping the game on its head is something that is not going to be very easy for a lot of people to sort of adopt within the first few weeks of the game. Of course, you're going to have some people like a Diaphone who's just going to run away with it. But I think it's really cool that defensive mechanics are very strong, and also that characters feel so different across the cast. I think B Jenet does not play like a Mai. Mai does not play like Rock. Rock doesn't really play like Terry, despite them having similar moves. Terry doesn't play, you know, so on and so forth. So I think having that character cast diversity is pretty good. And then overall, the feel of the game is just great. I love when a game just feels intuitive to play. Things feel like they should in terms of how you move throughout the game. When you press a button, the response that you get, and like the weight behind the move. The sound design in this game is so great. So you definitely have that sense of immersion, and the environmental impact is felt when you're playing the game. I think it's just a fun game to play, whether you're competing in the game, spectating the game, or just like playing the game just for fun. I think there's something for everybody in the game.
Yeah, when I played the open beta, I played Mai, and I definitely get what you're saying, that the game just feels good to like just press buttons. It just has a good feel to it.
Yeah, for sure. I know definitely after this episode I'm gonna be hitting buttons. for sure.
For sure, same.
Oh
I
my God.
have to learn this game as fast as possible so I can talk about it.
Yeah, that's my go-to, honestly. I was probably gonna take a break from driving uni for like a few days and just grind this. Because I honestly want to look at making this game like low-key. I feel like this game kind of is, what I'm looking for in a fighter.
Hey, there's a lot of incentive in it too. There's a lot of people are hyping this game up. There's a lot of tournament support for it. SNK is going in on it full stop. We saw the advertisements at WrestleMania for it. It was right forward in the logo was right in the middle of the ring for both nights. So SNK wants to make this game work. So going to be a lot of people in the corner of City of the Wolves. So I can definitely understand players jumping on that ship.
All right, so do you think the City of Wolves will kind of obviously gonna be crazy numbers now because of it's a new game, but do you think it's gonna remain that way or kind of last in the scene, or do you think it's just gonna kind of like mellow out, be kind of a more niche fighter? I'm not too familiar with the SNK scene, so I can't really speak on that, but how do you feel about it?
So I think that this game has the potential to have really good staying power. SNK themselves have said that they want to continue support for this game as much as possible. We've already seen the proof is in the pudding with all that they've invested into it. We could talk about the sources of that investment, but all that to say, the investment is still there. Putting Ronaldo in the game so you attract international fans and stuff like that. And then just having the push and the marketing that they've had with it. You had Ice Show Speed, Kai Cenat, and KSI doing stuff for the game. Again, like I said, it was on WrestleMania. There is a $1 billion tournament for the game in EWC. So again, that all continues to the initial hype. Now, does that have staying power? I want to say I hope so, because this is, I think, the first time ever, most likely, that an SNK title will be on the same stage, or at least being pushed at the same level as a Street Fighter and a Tekken, because we never had a King of Fighters show up to tournaments in this way. They were at EVO, but they definitely didn't really command the same attention that City of the Wolves is getting now. Like, there were no EVO showcases being done for King of Fighters 15, 13, 14. None of that was going on. So I think if SNK continues to put investment into the game as well as into the community, this game has staying power. And I think that as long as people on the player side and the commentator side and the spectator side interface with the game in a healthy manner, that will only help the cause. If we kind of poo-poo on the game in ways that don't make sense, again, you can have criticisms. I'm not saying this game is free of criticism, but if it's just talking just to talk, that doesn't help anybody. I've seen what that does for other games, and I don't want that to happen to this game. So again, we want SNK continued community support and game support, and then on the other side, the community itself interface with the game in a healthy way, and then we can keep this thing going. And if a game does well, the genre does well. So that's what we want to see.
For sure. Yup. That all that. Because my good Lord, I really hope the post-launch support will, kind of help. I feel like there's always that one thing that a lot of fighting games kind of, struggle with when it comes to their gaming. I feel like honestly a lot of I want to say anime, because not really all anime. It's mostly the arena fighters low-key, but the post-launch support for a lot of traditional fighters are kind of lackluster. But I guess rounding out this discussion of City of the Wolves, at least for a little bit, before we get into the main topic. So of course, according to your list, were there just any no reasons besides? I know you mentioned earlier you kind of want to just try something new, but I guess did B Jenet kind of just feel like just look like the most viable pick for you?
I think that she had a lot of things. First of all, her having the Bafris fireball is really nice. I typically do not play characters that have fireballs, but in this game, I said I think it's going to be very valuable to have a way to sort of take up space, because in Granblue I play Vera, and it's hard for her to take up space in neutral outside of just walking up to the opponent and just kind of threatening that up. So I was like, okay, just being able to have that space control is really good. She has very great pressure tools when she gets in. Her defense is not that bad. She doesn't necessarily have a DP per se. However, I noticed that her rev blow is very, very strong. So that could potentially be a good thing in her corner. And overall, like I like how fun she feels. Like there's a sense of joviality throughout her moveset. There's a lot of showmanship with it, like the parry that everybody has seen on Twitter. You know, if you Google B Jenet, it's probably going to come up, and then there's probably some very disgusting responses that go alongside of it. But I think it's the character just is fun, and like I said, if I have fun with the character, that's first and foremost. And then to your point of, do I think that she's viable? I think it's day one, of course. Like, it's too early to say, you know, definitively, but I think she has tools to compete, so checks all the boxes in that aspect. So B Jenet was someone that I was just like, you know what, I'm willing to put in time with until Yamazaki comes out, because that's my goat. So
Real.
Yeah, bro. Yamazaki sick. I can't lie. I can't.
yeah, he's the cool. He's the
Bro.
like. Okay. Speaking of cool and viable, he is the coolest character that I've probably played since Biken. Because the dude just pulls up on you, and it's just like, I'm going to kill you because I want to, not because I have any moral cause. And he's just certifiably insane, and he's just fun. He's a fun character. He's an archetype that I don't even play.
Yes.
He's a big body, slow guy. I don't do that, but I saw him, played him for like 10 minutes, and I was like, this is my favorite character. I'm going to learn how to play this archetype. I don't care how hard he is. So I want him in City of the Wolves, but that further goes towards the, yes, fun, viable. That's what I look for when I'm looking for characters getting into City of the Wolves.
Yeah, definitely, for sure, bro. The only time I played Yamazaki was I know one of our friends, Echi, basically was like, yo, you should try Yamazaki. I know you're not gonna like him because of not your style, but you know he's sick. And then I allowed him for like 10 minutes. I was like, dude, I can't lie. He's the character where I would play him like on the side just to mess around. Like, obviously I can't main him because I just don't play that archetype, but I can't deny I have to play him. Like, I have to.
He's sick. I love him. I love that guy.
All right, but going into max mode, Mr. Omega, you can take it.
All right, so going to this tournament. So first off, how do you feel going to like your games for Anthem and KOF? Is it like, are you doing like, any prep time, anything different than any previous tournaments? Like, what's the mentality going in here?
So this year's different because there's a level of involvement that I cannot detail quite yet. That's kind of preventing me from doing like full sale preparation like I was able to do in the year prior. And my head will not necessarily only be in the chair of a player, but there will be other things that I will be taking care of. That being said, I still very much have the intention of competing at the best level that I can in the games that I've signed up for. Obviously, I signed up for City of the Wolves. I don't think I'm not going to put too much into that, but I think it's just going to be fun to just mess around and then just being able to play with a bunch of people and just learning about the game as we're all very early into the lifespan of the game. KOF is a game that I could see myself getting top 8 for. I believe I'm seeded to just get right outside of it, which is fine. I mean, we have a lot of very strong players coming from Mexico to play, and F King from Brazil is going to be there as well. So it's going to be a very stacked bracket. And of course, we have homegrown talent here in Georgia. Very, very strong. Shout out to Silvera. Shout out to Fampy, both going to SNK World Championship qualifiers and just absolutely blowing the doors off of everybody there. But the game that I'm really invested in, of course, is Blue Fantasy versus Rising. That's a game that has most of my prep time, and I fully believe that I can actually win it this year. Last year I did get top 8, and it was only when I had, I think, about a month playing Vera, and I think that she's only gotten better since the game has progressed, and the state of the game where it is now really helps her out. I have a video talking about how Season 2 affects her in a positive way. And I'm very, very confident with the amount of prep work that I've been doing, not just leading up to Max Mode, but just in general, whether it's just learning more about the game through commentary and then just playing sets with some of the best players that I think I've ever interfaced with in fighting games. And they are teaching me so much about the game. I think I have a really good shot to at least medal, but of course I'm going to be shooting for gold. There's people like Senpai Spider that are going to be there. Biscuit is also a very strong player who's going to be there. Very early in the pool, I got to go through that hurdle. Laid way back as well. Very strong 2B player. Played them at DreamHack. So that is where all the prep time has been going for. And for this week especially, I'm not even really going to be playing the game that much. I'm really just going to be going into the OneNote, refining the blueprint, just saying, what do I need to do in order to give myself the best chance to win? Because I'm at a point with the game right now where I think that the only thing that stops me from winning and playing to my best, playing to my potential, is just the frame of mind that I am in during the set. So this week has been more so resetting the mental, just making sure that I have a level of enthusiasm, I'm not burnt out, and I'm going in, fresh, having a great attitude about the game. I'm not going to be perturbed if things go wrong during the set, because that was a problem that I had. I had to just say, you know what, I'm going to just do my best, trust in the preparation that I've had to this point, and then just let the chips fall where they may, and trust in myself to get to where I want to be.
I know you mentioned seeding. I have to bring this up because, my God. So, yeah, it seems like a lot of games right now are kind of having a borderline Armageddon, because seeding is just looking sus for a lot of these games. I guess, how is it looking for you? Do you have any, opinions on how it's, listed out right now, or do you feel like it's kind of accurately layered out between the pools?
I think it's game to game. I took a look at some of the other games, and there are some things that make me cock my head and go, I don't know if I would do that. I don't know if I would personally do that. And I know that this is a fairly large tournament, so it's hard to take a look at all 400 plus attendees and say, I know where such and such goes. And I understand that. But there are some things where I'm just like, I don't know. But I've always been personally a person that has not necessarily put too much stock into seeding, in terms of, me getting worked up about it prior to going into a tournament. I've always been more of a I play who's in front of me type of person. And honestly, I tell people all the time, I say, hey, if you got seeded into a very strong player, guess what? You're going to be likely to play them anyway if you wanted to win the event. So, like I said, that goes into my thing of just not making excuses. I'm just going to go out, do what I can, let the chips fall where they may. If I win, cool. If I don't win, it's whatever. I'll figure it out after the event, because hopefully, and I really do hope, and I mean hopefully, because you never really know, and I think it's something that people take for granted, but there will always be other events. There will always be other games to play. So it's all just it's all just a way to get better at the end of the day. And my moment will come if I'm ready for it. And each tournament prior to that is a step to get there.
Yeah, for sure. You were saying something?
I said, well said.
Oh, all right. And low-key, probably gonna round out the episode with the final question, which is gonna be a pretty interesting one. So I believe the game with the biggest entrance is City of the Wolves, if I'm not mistaken. But of course, by the time that this bracket will be starting, the game would have been out for about 2 days?
Yeah.
I guess
counting early access.
Yeah, not counting early access. So okay, do you think that the bracket will be kind of hectic? And I guess, what's your opinion on tournaments for games that just come out?
Oh yeah, I think absolutely this game is going to be hectic in terms of the bracket, and I think a lot of the people who signed up for the bracket know that that's going to be the case, and they're embracing it, because they're just like, you know what, it's going to be the first tournament for this game. I want to be there just to get in on the action as soon as possible. If I win, it's really cool, but if not, hey, I'm part of one of the first tournaments for this game, and it's going to be a great time for me to be able to play with a bunch of people who are coming out for the game as well. In terms of how I feel about tournaments in the first week of release, I think I personally don't see the problem with it. Now, what I will say is that this is a different circumstance from a developer hosted tournament or one that the developer has direct involvement in, and like say they release a patch like a week before like finals happen for it, I think that's where I'm just like, let's not do that, especially if it's like a sweeping patch. But in something like this where it's just the first week and people coming out to max mode, and it's just a bunch of people who already understand like, hey, this is a brand new game, we're just gonna see where it goes, I think that's fine. And I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna see some crazy upsets in terms of like, you know the name, you recognize the name, but they lose to somebody who plays a character that they just they're not familiar with, or a strategy they're not familiar with. So there's just going to be a lot of people just throwing stuff at each other, trying to find the most grimy stuff in week one that you don't necessarily know counterplay for. And as a spectator, I definitely know that that's going to be fun. As somebody who's going to be in the chair opposite of that, maybe I'll have a different opinion, who knows, but I fully intend to hit somebody with a wacky strategy, not wacky strategy, but a strong strategy going forward that I'm not going to talk about, because I at least want to make 1 and 2 appearance.
Yeah, for sure. Very valiant. Well, that is going to conclude today's episode of In the Lab. Zohma, any parting words and where people can find you at?
Yeah, I'll say that you can find me on Twitter at Zamir Stills, on Instagram at the same handle, and then on YouTube. Very much would appreciate if y'all could check that out. It's just my name, Zamir Stills, on YouTube. You know that you found the YouTube channel when you see a picture of Vera, because that is kind of what I am about currently, because Blue Fantasy vs. Rising Vera is peak, and I hope that everybody else knows that. But in terms of what I want to impart to the people, if you haven't understood it throughout this entire episode, please just make sure that you're interfacing with your passions in a very healthy manner, and a very and sharing and importing that passion with other people, so that we all cultivate an environment where people want to be here and enjoy their time, and then other people see that and then want to be a part of it, because that's how we all thrive at the end of the day, when people are all enjoying the things that they care about, the things that they love to do, and the things that bring them happiness. So I just invite you, even if you don't follow me on any of the things, just make sure you spread that message, spread the joy, spread the passion, spread the love, and then spread the wings, because City of the Wolves is out now, and I will hopefully be able to commentate y'all in those sets. But again, play whatever games you want. Fighting games are very cool, and I hope that you are always reminding other people and yourselves why they are so cool.
Yes, sir, Blue said. All right, Omega, where can people find you at?
You can catch me on Twitter at @Alpha Omega, posting FGC shit, or just yapping. Or just over here. I'll be hosting your next episode.
Yeah. All right. As for me, damn. Sorry. As for me, you can find me at ATL Riot on Twitch and TikTok, and at ATL Riot _ on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. If y'all enjoyed today's episode, make sure y'all like, subscribe, and share it around all your platforms, so people can be locked into the lab every Wednesday here on the In the Lab FGC YouTube channel, as well as the Spotify channel. With that being said, we out. Keep on labbing.
Peace.